morning, friends. Today we're going to talk about 1 Samuel 17. Now, in this chapter, it is one of my favorites in this whole Bible. So we're going to talk about that today. Now, in the beginning of this story, the people had wanted a king. They did not want to be patient. God had a special king for them, but they were impatient, and so they got King Saul. Now, King Saul thought he was smarter than God. So whenever God told him to do certain things, he looked at his pieces he had, which were only a little bit of pieces. And he said, I know exactly what to do. And God said, no, don't do that, do this. But instead he thought, no, I know more than God. So he did it his way, and he did it again and again. And God said, I can't use King Saul because he's the one that controls and watches over all my people. And I don't want him to turn them the wrong way. So I cannot use him anymore. So when God's spirit left him, an evil spirit said, ha 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 ha, I can get in him now and cause him problems. So an evil spirit went inside and caused him to be cranky and angry. And his friends did not like him to be cranky and angry because he could say, I'm going to kill you. So they said, sir, how about we get somebody who can play you some nice music and make you feel better? Fine, go get me somebody to make me feel better, because he was very grumpy. Well, they brought him David. Now, David was a young man who watched over sheep for his daddy. And they brought him in, and he played music, and he sang songs to God. And that evil spirit did not like that. So he ran away, and it made King Saul feel better. So when we're grumpy or we're cranky or we're not feeling good, it's probably a good idea for us to turn on music and praise God too, right? Because the Bible teaches us how to live. The Bible is our instruction book. Well, after a while, war broke out. That means the bad guys wanted to fight. They were coming up against Israel. So David chose to go back to be with his daddy, who was very old, because 3 of his big brothers went with Saul to the battle. They were soldiers, but David went back to be with the sheep and to help his father. So while he was there with his sheep, David learned all about God even more than before. He sang songs to God. He spent time, and God said, I'm a good shepherd. And he was learning all about that. Mean things tried to get his sheep, and God gave him the power, and he won. So while he was spending that time with God, his brothers were out in the battle, and the Philistines were not nice. They were like big old bullies. They wanted everybody's houses and everybody's land. They weren't thankful for what they had, and they were all doing fighting, and the Israelites were on one side, and the Philistines were on the other, and it was just not a good thing for them. Well, David's daddy, Jesse, missed his other sons, and he said, David, will you go take some of this nice cornbread to your brothers and see how they're doing and see all these nice cheeses? Bring these cheeses to the captains and just tell me how they're doing, because they didn't have phones. They didn't have texting. So David said, sure, Dad, I'll go. So he had somebody watch over his sheep while he went. And it took him about 6 hours to walk, because maybe he used his donkey, whatever he used, but it was about 6 hours away. Well, when he got there, he saw his brothers and he said, hello, brothers. Hello, Eliab. How are you doing? And they're like, hey, what are you here? And he's like, I brought you some cornbread. Well, just about that time, a mean old Philistine named Goliath, he came out, and he came out every morning and every evening for 40 days. And he came out and he said, look at me, how big and strong I am. Look at my helmet and my stuff. I'm the biggest guy ever. And don't worry about all you fighting. Just bring out one man to fight me. And if he can fight me and kill me, we'll be your servants. But if I kill him, then you guys will be our servants. So come on, just send out one man. And friends, that's how the devil is. Did you know that he doesn't want to fight a whole group? He wants to fight one. He wants to get you all alone. He wants to fight you. He's a bully. That's how bullies are. They don't like a group of people. They only like to fight one. So he was screaming and yelling and acting like that. Well, when David saw that, he went, oh, hey, he's saying mean things about you guys. And our God is living. He's strong and powerful. Who is that guy? Look at him. Now, David was looking how small he was because he was looking how big God was. But they were looking at how big he was and how small they were. They had their eyes on the wrong thing. Well, David was asking about it, and they said, yeah, and you know what else? If whoever fights him gets lots of riches. And he went, what? Now, when his brother heard that, he said, what are you doing here? Who's watching your few sheep? You just wanted to see the battle. You wanted to be a looky-loo. He was so rude. And David goes, oh, what did I do now? And he went and talked to someone else. Again, that's a good idea. If you're talking about God or you're doing something or you're wondering someone's rude to you for no reason, you can just go, oh, well, I'm going to go find someone else to talk to. And you can just turn away from that person. Well, that's what David did. And he kept asking about it until somebody said, David is asking about it. So the king brought David, or they brought David to the king. And the king said, oh, David, you can't fight that big old guy. You're not able to do it. He's a big guy, and you're so small. Look at you, David. Oh, little cutie. And David said, that's not true. I can do it with God's help. Did you know when I was watching my daddy's sheep, a huge lion with sharp teeth came out and got one of my little lambs, and my little lamb was crying for me. And you know what I did? I got that lion. Now, he probably took his slingshot and slapped him down with a rock, and then he went over and protected that little lamb. And then that lion got up with his head going, I'm gonna get you. And David went and grabbed him by the beard and killed him. That's what David told him. He said, and a bear did the same thing to me, trying to take away my sheep. I'm going to do the same thing with God's help to that big old nothing out there who thinks he's all that and saying mean things. He has no respect for the living God. We're the living God's people. Well, when David went out there, he was about to go, and Saul said, wait, you got to wear my stuff. Put on my armor. So David put on his armor, and he goes, I can't wear this silly stuff. I'm not used to it. So all David did was he went, whoopsie, I'm going to show you the wrong picture. David went out there and he got 5 stones from the brook and his stick and his 5 stones. Now, the reason he got 5 stones is because if he threw that one stone and he missed, he had 4 more. David decided in his mind, I am not leaving that battle. I'm going to give all I got because I know God is on my side. I know God is angry with that guy and what he's saying. And I know God's going to help me. And friends, did you know that when we go into battle, sometimes it takes more than just one time. We have to decide that we're going to win because God's on our side. So he took those 5 stones with him and he went out there, and when the giant saw him, he went, oh my goodness. A little boy with a stick and stones? Am I a dog? And he was very mad about that. But God was with David. And he said, the mean old giant said, I am going to feed you to the birds. And David said, oh, no, you're not. You come to me with a sword and a shield, but I come to you in the name of the Lord, and I'm going to cut your head off. Now, David didn't even have a sword. He said, I'm going to cut your head off, and everyone will know that there is a God in Israel. So he ran toward Goliath, and Goliath ran, and you know what? That rock, he swung it, and boom, right on the head. Boing! It hit Goliath, and he goes, that's all she wrote, buddy. And he fell straight down right on his face, right in the ground. And David went over and took his sword, and he cut his head off. And you know what? That guy put his sword on that morning so David could use it to get him. And that's how the enemy is, friends. That rock knocked him out down. Jesus did that for us at the cross. He knocked that enemy down, and now we have weapons to use. The enemy uses against us to knock him down and finish the job because God is with us. And David knew that. So friends, whenever you're up against any kind of thing that's trying to hurt you, any kind of thing that God said he's already won for us, remember the enemy laughs because he only sees us. But we have the power of God behind us. We have his angels fighting for us, and we can win the battle with God because God is so strong. His angels are so strong, and they're with us. So whenever you get afraid or when you're worried, remember God is with us. So I'm going to give you two questions. One, what can you listen to when you feel cranky or you're just not feeling right? Do you know? Two, in every problem, who should we give the most attention to? The problem or God? Right? Just like David, we can get out there and say, you know what? God took care of that guy for us. Now we have the victory through the Lord Jesus. All right, so I want to remind you that we win, we have won, and God helps us. All right, so have a great morning. I love you. Bye-bye.